The story of India begins deep in antiquity. Around 2600 BCE, a remarkable civilization emerged. This was the Indus Valley Civilization. It flourished in the northwestern regions of the Indian subcontinent. This ancient culture is also known as the Harappan Civilization. It was named after Harappa, one of its major cities. Mohenjo-Daro was another significant urban center. These cities showed advanced planning. They reveal a sophisticated understanding of urban life. This civilization was contemporary with ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. However, it had its own unique characteristics. Its discovery in the 1920s reshaped our understanding of early urban societies in South Asia. The urban planning of Indus cities was truly extraordinary for its time. Cities like Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa were laid out on a grid pattern. Streets ran from north to south and east to west. They intersected at right angles. Houses were built with baked bricks. Many homes had private wells and bathrooms. An impressive feature was the sophisticated drainage system. Covered drains ran alongside the streets. They carried wastewater away from aqueducts and homes. Large public structures also existed. The Great Bath at Mohenjo-Daro is a famous example. It was likely used for ritual bathing. Granaries suggest organized storage of food grains, indicating a well-managed agricultural surplus and a strong central administration. Indus Valley people had a rich cultural life. Archaeologists have found many artifacts. These include distinctive seals with animal motifs and a script. The script remains undeciphered to this day. This makes understanding their beliefs and governance challenging. Beautiful pottery, often decorated with geometric or natural designs, was common. Terracotta figurines of animals and humans, especially female figures, have been unearthed. These might suggest fertility cults or mother goddess worship. Trade was extensive. Indus seals and goods have been found in Mesopotamia. This indicates long-distance commercial networks by land and sea, connecting diverse ancient cultures. The decline of the Indus Valley Civilization began around 1900 BCE. The exact reasons are still debated by historians. Several theories have been proposed. Climate change leading to drier conditions could have affected agriculture. Tectonic events like earthquakes might have altered river courses. Some scholars previously suggested invasions by Aryan tribes. However, this theory is now viewed with more complexity. It is likely that a combination of factors contributed to its gradual decline. While the great cities were abandoned, many elements of Indus culture likely survived. These elements possibly influenced later developments in Indian society and religion, forming a subtle but persistent undercurrent in the subcontinent's long history. Following the decline of the Indus Valley Civilization, a new period began in Indian history. This is known as the Vedic Age. It is generally dated from around 1500 BCE to 500 BCE. This era is named after the Vedas. The Vedas are a large body of religious texts. These texts were composed in Sanskrit. They are the oldest scriptures of Hinduism. The people associated with this period are often called Indo-Aryans. They were primarily pastoral groups. They gradually settled into agricultural communities. Their society was organized into tribes known as yanas. Each jana was headed by a chieftain or rajan, whose position became increasingly hereditary over time. The Vedas are the primary source of information for this period. There are 4 main Vedas. The Rig Veda is the oldest. It consists of hymns praising various deities. These deities often represented natural forces. Agni, fire; Indra, war and weather; and Soma, a sacred plant, were important gods. The Samaveda contains melodies and chants. The Yajurveda deals with sacrificial rites and formulas. The Atharva Veda includes spells, charms, and incantations for daily life. These texts were initially transmitted orally. They were memorized and passed down through generations of priestly families. This oral tradition preserved them with remarkable accuracy before they were eventually written down much later. Society during the Vedic Age underwent significant transformations. Early Vedic society was relatively egalitarian. However, over time, a more complex social structure emerged. This was the Varna system. Society was divided into 4 main classes. The Brahmanas were priests and scholars. The Kshatriyas were warriors and rulers. The Vaishyas were merchants and farmers. The Shudras served the other 3 classes. This system became more rigid over centuries. It formed the basis of the later caste system. The concept of dharma or duty became central to this social order. Family structures were patriarchal, with the eldest male holding authority within the household. The later Vedic period saw the rise of larger territorial units. These were called Janapadas. Some Janapadas eventually evolved into more powerful kingdoms or Mahajanapadas. Agriculture became more prominent. Iron tools were increasingly used. This helped clear forests and expand cultivation. Rice became a staple crop in many areas. Rituals and sacrifices became more elaborate. The authority of the Brahmanas grew. Philosophical ideas also began to develop. Concepts like karma, action and consequence, and an early form of reincarnation started to appear in later Vedic texts such as the Upanishads. These texts explored deeper spiritual questions beyond the ritualistic focus of the earlier Vedas. Around the 6th century BCE, significant political and religious changes occurred in India. This period saw the emergence of Mahajanapadas. These were 16 large and powerful kingdoms or republics. They stretched across the northern Indian plains. Some prominent Mahajanapadas included Magadha, Kosala, Avanti, and Vatsa. Magadha, in particular, began to rise in prominence. Its strategic location and rich resources helped its expansion. This era was marked by increased urbanization. New cities became centers of trade and administration. The use of punch-marked coins facilitated commerce. This period witnessed intense political competition and warfare among these states as they vied for supremacy. The social and intellectual climate of this time was very dynamic. There was a ferment of new ideas. Many thinkers questioned existing Vedic practices and beliefs. The elaborate rituals and the dominance of the Brahmanas were challenged. This atmosphere of intellectual seeking gave rise to several new religious and philosophical movements. These movements are often referred to as Shramana traditions. They emphasized asceticism, meditation, and personal effort for spiritual liberation. These traditions offered alternative paths to salvation. They often gained support from the Kshatriya and Vaishya classes, who were seeking new forms of spiritual expression and social recognition. Two of the most significant religious movements to emerge were Buddhism and Jainism. Buddhism was founded by Siddhartha Gautama. He was a prince who renounced his worldly life. After attaining enlightenment, he became known as the Buddha, or the Enlightened One. He taught the Four Noble Truths and the Eightfold Path. These teachings offered a way to end suffering and achieve nirvana. Buddhism emphasized compassion, non-violence, ahimsa, and moderation. It rejected caste distinctions and complex rituals. Its message appealed to a wide range of people. It spread rapidly across India and later to other parts of Asia. Jainism was another influential faith that arose during this period. It was propagated by Mahavira. He was the 24th Tirthankara, or a spiritual teacher in the Jain tradition. Jainism also emphasized ahimsa. It took this principle to an extreme degree. Jains believe in strict non-violence towards all living beings. Asceticism and self-discipline are central to Jain practice. The goal is to purify the soul and achieve liberation, moksha. Like Buddhism, Jainism rejected Vedic authority and the caste system. It found strong support among the merchant communities. Both Buddhism and Jainism had a profound impact on Indian culture, ethics, and philosophy. They contributed significantly to India's diverse spiritual landscape. The political landscape of Mahajanapadas eventually led to the rise of larger empires. The most significant of these was the Maurya Empire. It was founded by Chandragupta Maurya around 322 BCE. He overthrew the Nanda dynasty in Magadha. With the guidance of his astute advisor, Kautilya, also known as Chanakya, Chandragupta expanded his empire. Kautilya's famous treatise, the Arthashastra, provides insights into Mauryan administration and statecraft. The Maurya Empire was the first major empire to unify a large part of the Indian subcontinent. It stretched from the Himalayas in the north to parts of southern India. Its capital was Pataliputra, a magnificent city. Chandragupta's grandson, Ashoka, is one of the most renowned rulers in Indian history. Ashoka ascended the throne around 268 BCE. Early in his reign, he was known as a fierce conqueror. However, a brutal war against the Kalinga kingdom, modern-day Odisha, changed him profoundly. The immense bloodshed and suffering caused by the war filled him with remorse. This experience led Ashoka to embrace Buddhism. He renounced aggressive warfare. He adopted a policy of Dhamma Vijaya, or conquest by righteousness. This marked a significant turning point in his rule and in the history of the empire. Ashoka dedicated his reign to promoting Dhamma. Dhamma was a moral code based on principles of tolerance, non-violence, respect for elders, and kindness to all living beings. He inscribed his teachings on rock edicts and pillars. These were erected throughout his empire. The edicts were written in various local languages and scripts. This ensured that his message reached a wide audience. Ashoka also undertook many welfare measures. He built hospitals for humans and animals. He planted trees along roads and dug wells for travelers. He sent Buddhist missionaries to spread the teachings of Dharma within India and to foreign lands, including Sri Lanka and Southeast Asia. The Mauryan Empire had a well-organized administration. It was divided into provinces, districts, and villages. A vast bureaucracy managed various aspects of governance. This included revenue collection, justice, and public works. The empire maintained a large army. Art and architecture flourished under Ashoka's patronage. The polished stone pillars with their animal capitals are iconic examples of Mauryan art. Stupas, which are dome-shaped structures housing Buddhist relics, were built in large numbers. After Ashoka's death, the Maurya Empire began to decline. Weak successors and internal pressures led to its eventual disintegration around 185 BCE. However, Ashoka's legacy of peace and moral governance left an indelible mark on India. All right, folks, let's dive into Section 5, the Golden Age, where we explore the flourishing arts and sciences in the Gupta Empire. So, after the fall of the Mauryan Empire, India went through a period of political fragmentation. Several regional kingdoms rose and, fell. But then, in the 4th century CE, a new empire emerged in northern India. This was the Gupta Empire. It was founded by Chandragupta I. His son Samudragupta was quite the conqueror, expanding the empire significantly. And then came Chandragupta II, also known as Vikramaditya, who further consolidated Gupta power. Now, the Gupta period, from roughly 320 CE to 550 CE, is often referred to as the Golden Age of India. This era witnessed some truly remarkable achievements in arts, science, literature, and philosophy. Science and mathematics in particular reached new heights during the Gupta period. The great mathematician and astronomer Aryabhata lived during this time and made significant contributions. He calculated the value of pi with remarkable accuracy, proposed that the Earth rotates on its axis, and explained the causes of solar and lunar eclipses. Another crucial development was the concept of zero, or shunya. The decimal system, which uses zero as a placeholder, was also refined. These Indian mathematical innovations were later transmitted to the Arab world, and from there they spread to Europe, forming the foundation of modern mathematics. Advances were also made in medicine, metallurgy, and astronomy. The arts too flourished under Gupta patronage. Sculpture reached a high level of refinement, with serene and graceful Buddha images from Sarnath serving as classic examples of Gupta art. Hindu deities were also beautifully depicted, and temple architecture developed distinct styles. Painting thrived as well, with the murals in the Ajanta caves being world-renowned. They depict scenes from the Jataka tales, narrating the previous lives of the Buddha. These paintings are celebrated for their vibrant colors and expressive figures. Literature in Sanskrit reached its zenith during this era. The famous poet and playwright Kalidasa lived during this time, and his works, such as Shakuntala and Meghaduta, are considered masterpieces of Sanskrit literature. The Gupta rulers were predominantly Vaishnavas, worshippers of Vishnu, but they showed tolerance towards other faiths, including Buddhism and Jainism. Puranic Hinduism, with its emphasis on deities like Vishnu, Shiva, and Devi, gained prominence. And many Puranas, which are texts containing myths, legends, and genealogies of gods and heroes, were compiled during this period. The empire maintained a strong and efficient administration, and trade and commerce prospered, both internally and with foreign lands like Rome and Southeast Asia. The Gupta Empire eventually declined due to internal weaknesses and invasions by the Hunas, but its cultural and intellectual achievements left a lasting legacy.
get a drum as a toy for Christmas.
Section 6, Medieval India, a rich tapestry of regional kingdoms. Following the decline of the Gupta Empire, India entered a long phase often termed the early medieval period. This era, lasting roughly from the 6th to the 13th centuries CE, was characterized by political fragmentation. No single empire dominated the entire subcontinent. Instead, numerous powerful regional kingdoms rose and fell. These kingdoms constantly vied for power and territory. In northern India, prominent dynasties included the Pushyabhutis of Thanisa, with Harshavardhana being a notable ruler. Later, the Gurjara Pratiharas, the Palace of Bengal, and various Rajput clans like the Chauhans and Paramaras held sway over different regions. These kingdoms often engaged in complex alliances and conflicts. The Deccan and southern India also witnessed the rise of influential kingdoms. The Chalukyas of Badami, the Pallavas of Kanchipuram, and the Rashtrakutas of Manyaketa were major powers in the Deccan. The Rashtrakutas, for instance, controlled a vast empire and were known for their military prowess. Further south, the Chola dynasty emerged as a formidable maritime power. The Cholas excelled in naval expeditions, trade, and administration. They conquered territories as far as Southeast Asia. These southern kingdoms developed distinct cultural identities. They contributed significantly to art, architecture, and literature in their respective regions, enriching the diverse fabric of Indian civilization. This period was marked by significant cultural developments. Temple architecture reached new heights of grandeur and complexity. Two major styles emerged: the Nagara style in northern India and the Dravida style in southern India. Magnificent temples were built, serving not only as places of worship but also as socio-economic centers. These temples were often richly endowed with land and wealth. Regional languages and literature also flourished. Devotional poetry in languages like Tamil, Kannada, and Marathi became popular. The Bhakti movement, emphasizing personal devotion to a chosen deity, gained momentum during this time. It challenged orthodox rituals and caste hierarchies, promoting a more direct relationship with the divine. Society in medieval India was largely agrarian. Land revenue was the primary source of income for the states. The caste system continued to be a dominant feature of social organization. It became more complex with the emergence of numerous subcastes, or jatis. Trade and commerce, both internal and external, continued, though perhaps not on the scale seen during earlier imperial periods. Indian merchants traded with Southeast Asia, China, the Middle East, and Africa. Guilds of merchants and artisans played an important role in urban economies. This era, despite its political fragmentation, was a period of cultural dynamism and regional assertion, laying the groundwork for subsequent historical developments. Section 7. The Delhi Sultanate, a new architectural and political era. The late 12th and early 13th centuries marked a significant turning point in Indian history. Turkic invaders from Central Asia began to make deep inroads into northern India. Muhammad Ghori of the Ghurid dynasty defeated Prithviraj Chauhan in the Second Battle of Tarain in 1192 CE. This victory paved the way for the establishment of Turkic rule in India. After Muhammad Ghori's death, his general Qutb-ud-Din Aibak declared himself ruler of Delhi in 1206 CE. This marked the beginning of the Delhi Sultanate. The Sultanate would rule over large parts of northern India for over 3 centuries, from 1206 to 1526 CE. The Delhi Sultanate was ruled by 5 successive dynasties. These were the Mamluk, or slave dynasty, the Khalji dynasty, the Tughlaq dynasty, the Sayyid dynasty, and the Lodi dynasty. Each dynasty contributed to the political and cultural landscape of the period. Rulers like Iltutmish consolidated the Sultanate's power. Alauddin Khalji expanded its territories significantly, even into southern India. He also implemented important economic reforms. Muhammad bin Tughlaq was known for his ambitious but often ill-fated experiments, such as shifting the capital from Delhi to Daulatabad. The Sultanate faced numerous challenges, including internal rebellions and external threats, notably from the Mongols. One of the most lasting legacies of the Delhi Sultanate is its contribution to architecture. A new style known as Indo-Islamic architecture emerged. This style blended Indian traditions with Islamic architectural features. Characteristic elements included domes, arches, minarets, and calligraphy. The Qutub Minar in Delhi, started by Qutb-ud-Din Aibak, is a towering example of this early phase. Numerous mosques, tombs, and forts were built across the Sultanate. These structures showcased the engineering skills and artistic sensibilities of the time. The use of red sandstone and marble was common. Intricate geometric patterns and Quranic verses were often used for decoration. The Sultanate period also brought about significant social and cultural changes. Persian became the language of the court and administration. This led to a rich interaction between Persian and Indian literary traditions. New forms of music and art developed. The Sufi movement, with its mystical approach to Islam, gained popularity. Sufi saints played an important role in spreading Islamic ideas and fostering communal harmony. While the rule was by a Muslim elite, the majority of the population remained Hindu. There were complex interactions between the two communities, ranging from conflict to cultural synthesis. The administrative and revenue systems established by the sultans also influenced later regimes, including the Mughals. Section 8. The Mughal Zenith Emperors, Exquisite Art and Grandeur. The Delhi Sultanate came to an end in 1526. Babur, a descendant of Timur and Genghis Khan from Central Asia, defeated Ibrahim Lodi, the last sultan, at the First Battle of Panipat. Babur laid the foundation of the Mughal Empire in India. This empire would become one of the largest and most powerful in Indian history. It lasted for over 3 centuries. Babur's son Humayun faced many challenges but managed to retain control. The true architect of Mughal greatness, however, was Humayun's son Akbar. Akbar ascended the throne in 1556 CE at a young age. His long reign, from 1556 to 1605, is considered a golden period of the Mughal Empire. Akbar was a visionary ruler. He pursued a policy of conquest and consolidation. He expanded the empire to include most of the Indian subcontinent. He was also known for his administrative reforms. He introduced the Mansabdari system, a hierarchical system for ranking government officials and military commanders. He reformed the land revenue system, making it more equitable. Akbar was a great patron of art, culture, and learning. He adopted a policy of religious tolerance known as Sulh-e-Kul, meaning peace with all. He abolished the jizya tax on non-Muslims. He even attempted to create a syncretic religion called Din-e-Ilahi, though it did not gain wide acceptance. Mughal art and architecture reached their zenith under Akbar's successors Jahangir and Shah Jahan. Jahangir was a connoisseur of painting. Mughal miniature painting, with its intricate details and vibrant colors, flourished during his reign. Shah Jahan is best known for his passion for architecture. He commissioned some of the most iconic Mughal monuments. The Taj Mahal in Agra, a mausoleum built for his beloved wife Mumtaz Mahal, is considered a masterpiece of world architecture. Other magnificent structures built during his reign include the Red Fort and Jama Masjid in Delhi. These buildings showcased a perfect blend of Persian, Indian, and Central Asian architectural styles characterized by symmetry, intricate inlay work, and grandeur. The Mughal Empire began to face challenges during the reign of Aurangzeb from 1658 to 1707. Aurangzeb was a devout Muslim and a capable administrator. He expanded the empire to its largest extent. However, his policies were often seen as less tolerant than Akbar's. He reimposed the jizya tax. His long wars in the Deccan drained the imperial treasury. These factors, along with agrarian distress and the rise of regional powers like the Marathas, Sikhs and Jats, contributed to the decline of the Mughal Empire after his death. While the empire weakened considerably in the 18th century, its cultural and administrative legacy continued to influence India for a long time. Section 9, From Colonial Rule to Modern Nation, The Long Path to Independence. The decline of the Mughal Empire created a power vacuum in India. This was gradually filled by European trading companies. The British East India Company emerged as the most powerful. Initially, it focused on trade. However, it soon began to interfere in Indian politics. Key victories, such as the Battle of Plassey in 1757 and the Battle of Buxar in 1764, gave the company significant control over Bengal. Over the next century, the company expanded its territories through wars and alliances. It exploited India's resources for Britain's benefit. This period saw the drain of wealth from India and the decline of traditional Indian industries. Resentment against British rule grew over time. This culminated in the Great Revolt of 1857. It is also known as the Sepoy Mutiny, or India's first war of independence. The revolt began with Indian soldiers, or sepoys, in the company's army. It soon spread to different parts of northern and central India. Though the revolt was eventually suppressed by the British, it marked a turning point. In 1858, the British Crown took direct control of India from the East India Company. It began the period of the British Raj. The British introduced changes in administration, law and education. They built railways and telegraph lines. However, their policies primarily served British imperial interests. The desire for independence grew stronger in the late 19th and early 20th centuries. The Indian National Congress was formed in 1885. It initially sought reforms within British rule. Later, it demanded self-rule, or Swaraj. Mahatma Gandhi emerged as a key leader in the 20th century. He advocated non-violent resistance, or satyagraha, against British rule. Mass movements like the non-cooperation movement and the civil disobedience movement mobilized millions of Indians. Other leaders and movements also contributed to the freedom struggle. The struggle was long and arduous. Many sacrifices were made by freedom fighters. Finally, after World War II, Britain decided to grant independence to India. However, this came at a heavy price. India was partitioned into two nations, India and Pakistan. The partition was based on religious lines. It led to widespread communal violence and massive displacement of people. India gained independence on August 15, 1947. The newly independent nation faced enormous challenges. These included establishing a democratic system, drafting a constitution, integrating princely states, and promoting economic development. Despite these hurdles, modern India emerged as a vibrant, secular and democratic republic. It continues its journey of progress, building on its rich and complex past.